everyone. So, good afternoon. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Dr. Alice Wainwright-Stewart, the president of Lakeland College.
How's that? Okay, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here today with you. We look forward to these student presentations every year, and every year they never disappoint us. They are a combination of both strategic decisions, hard work, and much collaboration, which you're going to see when the students do their presentations. Our student-managed farm, fondly known as the SMF, powered by New Holland, is truly the flagship of what Lakeland College innovative educational model is all about. Our students have the opportunities to have learning experiences that replicate real-life scenarios and use the latest agricultural technology equipment. They face many decisions and challenges, and we push them pretty much outside their comfort zone. But before we learn a little bit more about the student-managed farm units and their incredible work and the journey these students have taken throughout this year, I would like to start by celebrating a new opportunity for our students. Today, Lakeland College and the University of Alberta Faculty of Agriculture, Life and Environmental Sciences will officially sign a new transfer agreement. This agreement will allow our students, that is our animal science technology students, to continue their studies in a Bachelor of Science Ag program at the university. Collaborating with other post-secondary institutions, especially like the University of Alberta, is what Lakeland's priority is. These partnerships really open new opportunities not only for our students in their future education, but also enhances their career opportunities. As we know, over 60% of our students come back and stay in Alberta. So we want to provide them the best opportunities, program-wise, partnership-wise, that help them in their future. And today is one of those opportunities of laying another foundation to ensure that our students thrive in their journey of education. We are creating paths that are stronger productivity, smarter sustainability, and a more profitable future, not only for the region, but for our province here. So, we welcome our partnerships like this and really look forward to more collaborations with the University of Alberta in the future. Now, I'd like to take this time to introduce our Dean of Agriculture Sciences, Jeff Brown.
So thanks, Alice. We've been looking forward to this day for some time in the School of Agriculture Sciences. The agreement we're signing today is the culmination of a lot of good work between the University of Alberta, Lakeland College, and our respective teams who are working together for the good of students in agriculture. This agreement opens a door for Lakeland students, providing laddering opportunities to pursue higher education at a world-renowned university right here in Alberta. These sorts of agreements allow students to be in control of their educational pathways as they move into the agriculture industry. The opportunities in the agricultural sector have never been stronger. Post-secondaries in Alberta play a key role in addressing skill shortages that exist in agriculture and agri-food industries. We need to be working together to ensure that our best and brightest students receive optimal educational outcomes to solve the challenges that come with feeding the world. Playing to each institution's strengths, will result in students who are well equipped to solve the challenge of food production into the future. So this transfer agreement that we're signing today is significant. It allows for a full 2-for-2 block transfer for students in our Animal Science Technology diploma to a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture degree at the University of Alberta. We're hopeful that this will lead to additional transfer opportunities for other programs at Lakeland College. And so, as you can see, it would be very fitting that the timing of this signing aligns closely with the Crop Technology Student Managed Farm, powered by New Holland, presentations. And we're proud to showcase our students' accomplishments over the year in managing our crop unit and celebrating their final year of the Crop Technology program. We're very honored to welcome Dr. Stan Blade, Dean of the Faculty of Agricultural Life and Environmental Sciences at the University of Alberta, for this special event. I'd like to call on him for a few words now to share some words from the University of Alberta.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. It's always so much fun to come out to Vermilion and to see all the things that are going on here at Lakeland College. Excuse me, I would just say that, you know, you are our older sibling in all of this. It's not meant to be a pop quiz, but when did Lakeland College start as a college? Shout it out. Nicely done. So we, as a faculty at the University of Alberta, started in 1915. So we look forward to your wisdom, your counsel in all of these things. It's a great pleasure to be here and to be part of this announcement with respect to the block transfer agreement. You may know already, but I will certainly tell you that our faculty has worked very closely with Lakeland College over a wide array of activities. I know some of your students in past years have come to our events. I'll have a little advertisement at the end of this chat talking about a certain bar none, but I'm not going to spoil that now. You know, we've had exchanges around some of the things that we've done with Dr. Frank Robinson and others. I know we also have sent some of our students to your facilities. So this is a very close relationship, and we see that the announcement today is just really an extension of all the things that we need to do to work together. I'm pretty sure that this audience already knows this is an exciting time for ag and food in this province, in this country, around the world. But we need great people. If you're involved in the private sector, even the work that we do within post-secondary institutions, people are what make things work. And we need the next generation of people to be able to stand up. And the agreement that we're signing today will just give people new opportunities. Our faculty, we have in total, with all of our programs this year, about 1,800 undergraduate students, around 600 graduate students that are doing research. Our partner industries usually invest this year, I think it's going to be about $45 million of external money in the research that we do across all the important sectors for the province of Alberta, ag and food and forestry, and the work that we do with the energy sector around land reclamation and a whole array of other activities. So these are very pragmatic opportunities for students to really take advantage and to help build the industries that we require in the province of Alberta. So it's great to be here. I certainly appreciate the President's kind words and Dean Brown's hard work. He has been tenacious along with our team at our faculty of getting to this agreement. I'd also just like to acknowledge that I have a colleague here from the University of Alberta. Tia Lalani has also been very helpful in the crowd. Thank you very much, Tia. And to the advertising, after 2 long years, more than 1,000 days, on April 2nd, our Ag Club will be hosting an in-person bar none. And I'm pretty sure that people have already been in contact with you, but in discussing this with our student club this last week, things really seem to be coming together, and this is a great celebration. I think this is our 74th bar none. It's an important way that we celebrate the work of our faculty within our own group, but with all of our partners across the province of Alberta and the rest of the University of Alberta community. So we would certainly encourage students to take advantage of that, and we would love to see you coming up on April 2nd. So with that, thank you very much for attending. I'm looking forward to the crops presentations, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So with that, I'll invite Dr. Blade to the signing table for the official signing ceremony.
Next, I'd like to invite Harold Hogan and Gordon Tuck from Zone 5 Alberta Pulse Growers, as well as Jenna Bowman to the stage for a presentation.
Lights on. Oh, there's a light shining bright. Got to move into the spot where the lights aren't too bright. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great deal of honor for Harold and myself to come out to the presentation today. We've been here a few times before, and it's a fantastic day. It's also an honor for us to present this award to a student who has certainly excelled in her work here in Vermilion College, and I guess we just congratulate you and hope that it all goes well for you in the future. So with that, Harold, would you like to...
But you're going to tell them that it's Zone 5 money from this zone that this money comes out of it?
Yes, I guess I better add that in too. This funding is coming from the money that's raised out here in Zone 5 from the sale of all the different pulses, peas, lentils, or whatever else there is being grown, soybeans in some cases, I guess. And so anyway, if Harold will make the presentation, and thank you again for having us, and we'll carry on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Student Managed Farm final presentations powered by New Holland. My name is Caleb Bench. I'm from Marsden, Saskatchewan, and I was this year's production manager.
My name is Autumn Kerr. I'm from Singleton, Alberta, and I was this year's assistant general manager. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 6 territory, which is the traditional home, meeting grounds, and traveling routes to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Nakota Sioux, Dene, and Métis people. We also acknowledge all the many Indigenous and Métis people that once lived and flourished in these lands, whose footsteps and cultures have marked these lands for centuries before Confederation. In doing so, we also acknowledge that you and I live and prosper in the same land as a result of the resilience and guidance of the many Indigenous people Indigenous to Treaty 6. We have many special guests joining us this afternoon. So when I introduce you, if you could please stand and make yourself known to the crowd, that would be wonderful. So we have Brent Fisher, who's part of the Board of Governors. Where are we? Dr. Alice Wainwright Stewart, the president of Lakeland College. Scott Webb, past chairman of Lakeland College Board of Governors and the principal of Webb's New Holland Machinery. And Roy Kubica, Lakeland College alumnus and a huge supporter of Lakeland College. Welcome, everyone.
So just some general housekeeping rules. I would like to ask everyone to please turn their phones on silent for the duration of the presentation. There are bathrooms located at the top of the stairs and in the left in the hallway. There are exits at both the top and the bottom, and there is a muster point across the college in the parking lot.
So there will be 7 different sections to our presentation today. We'll start the first half with canola, then malt, barley, and flax, moving on to corn and barley silage, and then research. After research, we will take a 15-minute intermission. When we get back from that, we'll start with wheat, peas, and then special projects. After each section, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. As well, in the booklet or from the QR code that you have scanned, there's additional information that corresponds to each presentation.
So just I'd like to acknowledge that this half section was donated to us by Judy Sweet and Roy J. Kubica. So this year we worked alongside with applied research to come up with a new field map. The top half, LC25, is for crops SMF, and the bottom half is going to be broken up into 3 segments, LC26A, B, and C, roughly about 50 acres in size. These 3 fields will have their own crop rotation that was created to suit applied research's stubble requirements for their plots.
Are there any questions before we begin? If not, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation, and I'd like to invite Canola onto the stage.
Thank you, Caleb and Autumn. Good afternoon, everybody. We're the Canola Group. My name is Tate Suter. I'm from Alliance, Alberta, and I was part of the marketing team this year.
My name is Kyle Pangton. I'm from Lucky Lake, Saskatchewan, and I was part of the analysis team this year.
My name is Wade Black, and I'm from Brownfield, Alberta, and I was the finance manager this year.
My name is Paige Coots. I'm from Carstairs, Alberta, and I was part of the mixed farm team this year.
My name's Austin Furster. I'm from Shelbrook, Saskatchewan, and I was part of the production team this year.
My name is Harmandeep Kaur. I'm from Punjab. I'm in the market team this year.
So to start off with, this year we had canola on 3 different fields. The first field we had it on was LC25, which was 138 acres and had a variety of 45H42, which is a Roundup ready variety. Then on LC19 we had 91 acres. On there we had an L234PC variety, which is a Liberty Link variety. And then on LC13 we had 72 acres of B3010M, which is also a Liberty Link variety.
Okay, so for the seeding and fertilizer rates or plans last year, 2021, for the seeding rate, it's kind of a new thing that happened in the last 3 years or so. All the canola companies switched only putting enough seed in their bags to seed 10 acres with the rate they were given, or that they give you on the bag. So last year they seeded all their canola at 10 acres per bag, and this year, this coming up spring, we're going to do the same thing. So for seed treatments, they just use Prosper Everglow for across the board there. It's a pretty standard seed treatment that comes on most canola. And for the fertilizer rates, that's what they are, and you can notice that we split up the N and the S in the sideband. We did that to stop seedling toxicity or fertilizer burn and salt toxicity. So yeah, higher fertilizer with higher salt content in it can easily dry out the seed and reduce germination, so can fertilizer burn. And then we put the P, well in this case just P, but it's usually P and K in the seed row. And that's to try and get the pop-up effect, and they're also immobile in the soil, so it's better that they're closer to the seed. Okay, so for the spraying plans that they did last year, for in-crop on LC13 and 19, they did glyphosate and Conquer. That was for pre-seed. For in-crop, they did Liberty and Centurion. And then they never did any fungicide because of the drought we had last year. There wasn't much disease because disease doesn't really like dry conditions. And then for pre-harvest, we did glyphosate, and that was just to try and get some of the regrowth, the green regrowth, and dry it down last fall. And then for LC25, we just did glyphosate on pre-seed and the in-crop, and then we never did any fungicide or pre-harvest because it was a Roundup ready, so glyphosate wouldn't work very well.
So this past year, as we all know, it was a very hot and dry summer and fall, so this caused some uneven maturity in our canola. This caused a lot of regrowth and flowering canola while we were trying to harvest it, which caused us some issues with both harvest and in-bin storage. Because of this, we ended up putting all the canola on aeration. Our main reason behind this was just there was a lot of moisture in the green matter that was in our sample. Most of the canola came off dry, but just because of that green matter, we wanted to make sure that all the moisture was drying out of it. Because of that green matter, we ended up monitoring temperature and moisture weekly. And as a result of this, all the canola was turned. The main reason behind this is we just wanted to stir it up in the bin and just move that green matter around and make sure there was no heating or warm spots occurring in the bin. For canola yields this year, on LC19 we had 21 bushels an acre. The average in the area was 29 bushels an acre. For LC25 we had 28 bushels an acre. The average in the area was 27 bushels an acre. And then for LC13 we had 23 bushels an acre. The average in the area was also 29 bushels an acre. These numbers for the averages in the area come off Farm Command. It's a program we use here on the farm to keep track of all the stuff we do in the fields. Any other farms, local farms that use this program, their yields are also entered into this program and used, and we can see them, and that's just how we compare to this. The main reason LC19 and LC13 were a little bit lower than the average is those are the two fields that had a lot of the regrowth I was talking about and the uneven maturity, and because of this I feel we lost some yield, so that's why it's a little bit lower.
Last year, our previous canola team made 2 contracts with the G3, one for 90 metric tons at the price of $12.60 per bushel. Another one was for 40 metric tons at the price of $14.95 per bushel as a November contract. Both contracts delivered to the G3 by entire SMF team in the November month. These stars show the delivery contract price, and the lines show the price of a canola in the market last year. That was quite high because last year was the dry year, but winner team made these contracts that were the highest price at that time.
So once they turned our marketing team loose, we didn't have too much left there that we were able to contract, but we were able to spread it out throughout most of the year there. And as you'll see here throughout a lot of our slides, the main contract type that we use is a GPO, so that's a grain pricing order, and that's setting a target in the futures month that you want to deliver in, and that's what we use a lot on the farm here. We really like it. It's a good risk mitigator, and it helps you capture some volatility in the market. But first off there, we've got our first contract to Cargill there for 20 tons. That was for $23 for January. The next one there was a spot price for January for Cargill at 20 ton as well. That was for $23.26. The reason for this one was we needed a full load for Cargill to come pick it up to take it to the crush. And we had some targets out there, but they never hit. So we ended up selling at spot price, but we were really happy. It was still above our last contract, so we were still headed up there. Next, we had Cargill for 40 ton there. That was for $24, and that's going to be picked up here on the farm here in a couple weeks in April here. This chart just kind of shows where the prices were throughout the year, and I thought as a marketing team we did quite well. As you can see, the stars there indicate where we sold, where we had our contracts, and we were able to catch the peaks there in the markets. And the 24, you can see it's not exactly the peak, but we had seen a lot of resistance in that area, and we thought it was a good risk mitigator to put up at the $24, and we were really happy with where it hit, and it was very profitable for us still, so we definitely can't complain with that.
Now for the 2021 finances here. We spent $175 an acre on inputs. We spent $31 an acre on custom work, $30 an acre on equipment and repairs, and $28 on insurance. And then we also have a cost in there of $120 an acre to represent our opportunity costs. So that is just in there to help us with our finances and keep track of things that we don't have to pay for that might be donated by our generous donors, such as land or equipment, as well as things that the SMF isn't particularly responsible for, such as employee wages. And then for a breakdown of our input costs, we spent $25 an acre on pesticides, $78 an acre on fertilizer, and $72 an acre on seed and seed treatment. And then for our canola financial summary for 2021, we had an income of $410 per acre and expenses of $385 an acre, which left us with a net margin of $25 per acre. Our break-even price at our average yield of 24 bushels an acre was $16.43 per bushel.
Okay, where we're going to plant all the canola this coming up spring. On the left of the screen there, you can see LC18. That's where we're going to plant the specialty canola, the Victory V25, V3. And right beside it on LC17, we're going to plant proven PV 582 GC. And right in the middle there, LC26B, that's where we're going to plant the Liberty Link canola, the Cantera Seeds 4000, or CS 4000. Okay, so why we chose the proven variety. We heard a lot of good things about it. It was said to be high yielding in the area. It had really good standability, and it had a good disease package of clubroot and blackleg resistance, which we're trying to, we put that on to try and keep the numbers low in the fields. And then for why we chose the Liberty Link variety, Cantera Seeds 4000, we chose this because we grew Roundup Ready stubble on that plot last year. And because, well, first off, we did that because we're trying to get the applied research rotation for all the plots proper. So that's why we're planting canola on canola. And we chose Liberty Link because we're trying to, well, so we can spray Liberty and kill the Roundup Ready volunteer canola when it comes up this coming up spring. And then also it has good disease resistance. Yeah, blackleg and clubroot again, trying to keep those at bay because they can really devastate your crop. And then it was also available. That was a really big thing. We chose it a little bit later than the other varieties, so it was really nice that it was available. And lastly, it can be straight cut, so it kind of is far away, LC 26 or 25 or 25, sorry. I don't know if you guys know the first years would because he went out for a demo there this fall, but yeah, so just in case you guys don't want to haul the swather all the way out there next year, you can just spray some Regulone on it or something and just straight cut it, so that'll be a little bit easier. And then the Victory variety on LC18 there, we chose it because it's high yielding. I heard a lot of good things about it too. And it also does have buteo on it. So does the PV 582, the proven stuff. I forgot to add, but yeah, we put buteo on this stuff. What buteo is, it's a insecticide that goes on with a Prosper Evergol for seed treatment, and it's like Lumiderm, but just for flea beetles, and it actually is supposed to work very well. So so we're planning on having not to spray and then just putting that on there. And this Victory variety also has blackleg and clubroot resistance, and yeah, it presents a good opportunity because it is a specialty variety for the next year's SMF team, the marketing team. You'll get a chance to market the specialty canola, which no SMF team has done before, it sounds like.
For this upcoming year, we set a yield goal of 55 bushels the acre. We base this off of just past records we have here on the farm, as well as records off of Farm Command. We needed this just to base our fertility plans off, as well as calculate our estimated finances for the next year. So this is just pulled off of there, and we just use it. We're obviously hoping to get better than this, but this is just what we're basing off of, depending on what the weather's like. So.
This year, our team made the contract for the new upcoming canola crop, that is for 20 metric tons at the price of $19.20 per bushel as the October contract. Blue Star showed a pickup price for the delivery contract price, that is $19.20 per bushel, and the lines shows the price of canola in the market in this year.
So as Austin was talking there with the specialty canola, also comes some specialty contracts with it too. First off, in the contract there's a 10 bushel per acre risk-free act of God clause. So if you have that 10 bushel an acre contracted before July 15th and you have a hailstorm come through and it totally wipes out your crop, they'll send an adjuster out, see that it's written off, and you don't got to buy out your contract or anything. So it's a nice little risk mitigator for yourself to to be able to still market some grain, but not be worried if you're going to have to buy yourself out of a contract or something. Next up, the first 35 bushels per acre have to be contracted with Cargill. If there's more, as you've seen there, our target yield is 55 bushel per acre. That extra, they've said they normally have always taken those flex tons, so there's a good chance they'll take it, but if not, we're allowed to contract that with any other grain company as we please. And for the premiums, these are the big parts that we really like this specialty canola. And we had to choose which 2 months we were going to be delivering this canola in, so we chose January and March. These were some of the higher prices throughout this last marketing year, and where we could see some of the best premiums for ourselves. And those premiums were $45 for January and $47 per metric ton in March, which works out to be about $1 per bushel more. And for a small little market outlook for the fall, some big ones here are just up on the screen. You got Russia and Ukraine. We all know what's going on there. If they're busy fighting, they're not going to be exporting, and people in the world are going to be looking for other sources of food, and we're going to be a big one that's going to really drive up the prices. There's more exports going to happen in Canada. Next is a weather market, which plays in with the soybean market and the USA and Brazil harvest. If USA and Brazil have a bad harvest, it's going to drive the price up as there's not as much out there in the world. So that once again, they're going to be turning to Canada for some more food.
Okay, so for the seeding and fertilizer plan this year, this coming up spring, yeah. So again, the seeding rate's just going to be 10 acres per bag because it's the standard there. And then for the seed treatment on LC17, we're going to put Buteo on 2 bags, and then we're going to put Prosper Everglow because it's a standard. And why we're putting just 2 bags of Buteo on is because we're going to put them around the outside rounds, and because flea beetles come from the outside of your field in, we're trying to stop the flea beetles from coming in there. And why we only put 2 bags is because there's less bush around that area, and we think because there's less bush, maybe there's going to be less flea beetle pressure. And anyways, it'll be a good test. And then for LC18, we're going to have Buteo on all the bags. We just did that simply because so we can compare, and because there's more bush around that field, it's covered. Like there's bush around the whole border of it, and so we're thinking that there might be maybe more flea beetles, and it'll be a good test. And then for LC26, it's just the standard seeding rate, 10 acres per bag, and then Prosper Everglow. And then how we got that fertilizer rates up there, we looked at the past history for the fields and chose a yield that we were trying to shoot for. And then we used that. We went and made our own fertilizer rates, and then we talked to our agronomist and we compared those fertilizer rates, and then that's how we came up with that.
Our plan for pesticide application next year on LC18 for a pre-seed application, we'll do a mix of glyphosate, Command 360, and AIM EC. For our in-crop application on this field, we'll do a 2-pass application. Our first pass will be glyphosate, and our second pass will be Eclipse. On LC17, we'll do a glyphosate and Conquer mix for a pre-seed application, and our in-crop application will just be glyphosate. On LC26B, we'll do a glyphosate and Conquer application again for the pre-seed, and a Liberty and Centurion for in-crop. We chose these products based off of past field records and scouting reports, and figured that these would give us the best kill. If we figure that we need to spray a fungicide next year, we'll spray Cotegra on these fields.
So then for our 2022 projected finances, we're expecting to spend $235 an acre on inputs, $35 an acre on custom work, $29 an acre on equipment and repairs, and $22 per acre on insurance. And again, $120 an acre is what we decided to use for our opportunity cost for the upcoming year. And then a breakdown of our input costs. We're expecting to spend $40 an acre on pesticides, which is up 60% over last year. We're expecting to spend $122 an acre on our fertilizer, which is up 56% over last year. And then $74 an acre, which is up 3% over last year on our seed and seed treat. And then for our projected financial summary, we're expecting to have an income of $1,033 per acre and spend $441 in expenses next year. And that should leave us with a net margin of $592 per acre. And then at our expected yield of 55 bushels an acre, we need a break-even price of $8.02 per bushel on our grain. And then at the current futures market price, which averages out to $18.78, we need a yield of 23 bushels an acre.
Thank you, and we're open for questions. Yes, sir, up front. The question was, do we soil test to help get our fertilizer blends? And I think, Austin, you'd be most suited for this question.
Yeah, I can answer that question there. Yeah, we do. We look at the soil test to know what we got in the soil, and then we base our recommendations off of that. The yield that I was talking about before, that's just to know how much nutrients we got to put in to get that yield. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
The question was, do we soil test in the fall, spring, or in both? Once again, I think Austin.
Yeah, we soil test in both.
Up top on the right there. The question was, our crop insurance seems pretty cheap. Who are we dealing with? I believe Wade. I believe it's AFSC. Yes, sir. So the question was, why do we think that the seed companies are going to the 10 bushel or 10 acres per bag and just saying that's what we got? And I think, Austin, you dealt with them the most there, once again.
Okay, I don't know for sure actually for this question, but I'm pretty sure it's just to simplify it. That's my best answer. I don't know, simplify it for farmers.
Any other questions there? Oh, they're up front. The question was, does SMF and the marketing team, I believe, use puts or anything like that to help make some money and offsets anything? And no, we do not play around in that too much. We find it's pretty risky, and we mostly just want to stick to trying to market the grain as much as we're all learning as well. We want to try and just stick to marketing grain and not too much playing in the futures market and lose all the college's money or something crazy. I think I might get in trouble if I do that. Yes, sir, up top there. The question was, do we have all of our seed and chemicals in the shed now, or are we still waiting on it? And I believe Caleb's coming up here, our production manager. He's been dealing with this quite a bit this week. He'll answer that very well for you.
So yes, I have been dealing with it quite a bit this week. We have got our Cantera seed in right now. We are waiting for our Liberty that is coming from UFA. We're just waiting on payment, but it is here. We have got our complete order into Richardson, and they have everything knowing what we need. They have not had their stock in yet, but they know our stock, and it is supposed to be coming. Our other canola seed is in, and that's just waiting on delivery, so that's about it. What was the question?
The question was, is we have our Liberty there, but we haven't paid for it. Is the price going to go up and we're going to have to pay more, I believe? Would that be your question there?
I'm not really sure. That's all. Yes, it very well could. Another question up there?
Harold, tell my mom to stop spying on me. Oh, I know. Any other questions out there? I don't believe so. If so, yell at me. I'm a little hard at seeing sometimes. No? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And next up, I would like to welcome malt, barley, and flax.
So we are the malt, barley, and flax group. I'm Hannah Winnie. I'm on production team, and I'm from Rosetown, Saskatchewan.
I'm Matthew Pfeffer. I'm from Shelm, Alberta, and I'm on the analysis team.
My name's Courtney Cannon. I'm from Innisfree, Alberta, and I am this year's marketing manager.
I'm Justin Corbier. I'm from Vilna, Alberta, and I'm on the finance team.
So last year's production team grew 117 acres of Synergy barley on LC12, and the seeding date for that was May 13th and 14th. The blend they used was 85-20-10-0, and they sideband the nitrogen and then seed placed the P and K. The seed treatment they used was Raxel Pro, and then the pre-seed burn was pre-pass, flex, and glyphosate. And the in-crop was Liquid Achieve and Octane. And then the fungicide was Trivapro. The reason that they sprayed a fungicide was because they found scald in the barley field. And it was looking to be like a good year and not a drought, and they were getting quite a bit of rain in June. So that is the reason they applied the fungicide. And for a pre-harvest, they did not use one.
So harvest last year for the barley came a little early because of the hot, dry summer we had. Ideal moisture content to take barley off at is around 14 to 14.5%. Ours came off at 9%, so it was very dry. Because of that, we had no concerns of it spoiling in the bin, so we ended up putting it in our flat bottom bin in the barnyard, which has no aeration. Then we monitored it weekly with the StormX, which is a system of sensors in our bins just to monitor the temperatures and the moisture of the grain. And we had some issues with it in the one bin with the barley, so we ended up taking 2 loads out and just circulating the grain to make sure we had no hot spots in the bin. As for yields for the barley, we did pretty good considering other local farmers got around 44 bushels an acre, and we got an average of 53 bushels an acre. This is because some locals got some hail damage on their barley, so we were lucky enough to miss that.
So in September, all of our team members took grain samples to their assigned grain company, and majority of these companies graded our barley as malt. However, we did have high protein, so regardless of where we were going to sell it, we knew we were going to receive probably a protein discount. So towards the end of October, we decided to sell our malt barley in town here to Viterra. And that's simply because at the time, the companies that were buying malt barley were notifying us that they were most likely going to stop and weren't just 100% sure as to when they were going to start buying malt barley again. And we didn't want to take any risks of not having a buyer in the future months when we wanted to sell. So we delivered 4,500 bushels to Viterra in town here at a price of $10.48 per bushel, and we got a 20-cent protein discount, and this was delivered in November. So here's spot prices for malt barley from October till now. The red star on the graph indicates where we sold at. The prices have been increasing, which has to do with your distilleries and breweries being in short supply to make their products. And at this time, we've decided not to forward contract any malt barley simply because we're uncertain as to whether or not it will make malt again next year, and because there is the option that next year's animal science students will need the barley for feed.
So this is a breakdown of our costs from growing malt in 2022. We spent $140 an acre on our inputs, $28 an acre on our custom applications, $30 an acre on equipment and repairs, and our insurance came out to $16 an acre, and our opportunity cost was around $120 an acre. And a breakdown of our input costs from last year are $48 an acre on pesticides, $54 an acre on fertilizer, and seed treatment came out to around $38 an acre. Our income from our 2021 malt barley crop was around $411 an acre. Our expenses were around $334 an acre for a net margin of $77 an acre. And our break even on malt barley was $6.32 a bushel, and our average yield was 53 bushels an acre.
So as you can see here on the map, this year we are growing the malt barley on LC19. We'll be growing 93 acres of Synergy barley. We're going to be using the same seed as last year. The reason for this is because the germ we had a high germ of 98, and also because barley seed prices are through the roof right now, so we kind of wanted to cut back on seed costs. And it is a second generation certified, and it's going to be used as an option crop for silage. So for the pre-seed burn, we're going to be using glyphosate and AIM. For an in-crop, we're using Liquid Achieve and Pixaro. For a fungicide, we're using Trivapro. We may not need to use a fungicide, but we just put it in our plan just in case. And then for a pre-harvest, we won't be using one because we're just going to swath the barley. So for our fertilizer plans, we base it off of our soil samples from the fall and our expected yield goals. And the blend that we came up with is 50, 15, 15, 0. And we will be side banding the nitrogen and seed placing the P and K.
Our projected 2022 cost to grow malt barley are going to be around $249 an acre in inputs, $35 an acre for custom expenses, and around $29 an acre for our equipment and repairs. Our insurance will come around to $22 an acre, and our opportunity cost will be $120 an acre. The actual input costs projected to grow malt barley will be $75 an acre on pesticides, $95 an acre on fertilizers, and $79 an acre on seed and seed treat. Our projected income for next year will be $500 an acre, with expenses being around $455 an acre, for a net margin of $45 an acre. And our break-evens are projected to be around $4.55 a bushel, and an expected yield of 100 bushels an acre.
Now we will be moving on to the flax. So as you can see in the bottom right corner here, we are putting the flax on LC20. So we'll be growing 109 acres of flax. The variety we are using is glass. The reason we went with this variety is because it has a high yield and good standability. The straw management, how we're going to be dealing with the straw, is we'll be talking to the livestock side of the farm, and we'll see if they want the flax bales for feed or bedding. And if not, then we are going to burn the straw or come up with a better plan how to manage it. And thank you to George Winnie for donating the flaxseed. So for a seed treatment, we are using Ensure Pulse. For a pre-seed burn, we are using glyphosate and Authority 480. For an in-crop, we're using Assure and Curtail M. The reason we're using these products is because we're putting the flax on wheat stubble, so we kind of want to get rid of, if there is going to be volunteer wheat, the Assure will get rid of the volunteer wheat. And then for a fungicide, we're using Priaxor. Again, we may not need to use a fungicide, but we added it to our plan just in case. And then for a desiccant, we are using Reglone. For our fertilizer plans for this year, or for the flax, we base it off of our soil samples from the fall, and then also our expected yield goals. And the blend we used was 50, 20, 0, 10, and we are side banding the nitrogen and then seed placing the P.
So for flax yield, Farm Command showed us last year that local flax growers got an average of 13 bushels an acre, which is quite low, but again, because of the dry growing season. And previous years growers had got around 30 bushels an acre, so that's what we're hoping to aim for this next growing season. And as for storage for flax, safe temperature is anywhere from 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, and safe harvest moisture content is 9 to 10%.
So here we have a graph of the new crop flax prices for October. As you can see, there's a pretty limited market in our area. However, there is Viterra in town here which buys flax, and then there's some brokers such as Market Master and JGL Commodity which will come to the yard and pick up the flax if we do sell to them. And then at this time, we have not chosen to forward contract any flax simply because there's a lot of uncertainty going into this growing season, and we just didn't want to take any risks as we were unsure as to how well the flax will grow. And then we also wanted to give next year's SMF marketing team the opportunity to sell a more diversified crop, as our team experienced this year with selling green peas.
Our projected 2022 flax costs will be $170 an acre for inputs, $35 an acre for custom expenses, $29 an acre for equipment and repairs, $22 an acre for our insurance costs, and our opportunity costs will actually be $150 an acre. And our production costs will come out to around $75 an acre for pesticides, $90 an acre for fertilizers, and $5 an acre for seed and seed treat. This is because our seed was donated. And our projected income for our flax crop next year will be $447 an acre, and our expenses will be $406 an acre, and we're looking at a net margin of $41 an acre. Our break-even price is projected to be around $13.55 a bushel, and we're expecting around 30 bushels an acre.
Any questions? So the question was, what do you mean by opportunity costs? And I'll pass that question to Justin.
So opportunity costs is costs that a normal farm would have that we wouldn't. And in our case, like for example, Webb's has donated a lot of our machinery. And in this case, our flax seed is donated. So our opportunity cost is actually $150 an acre for the flax, as opposed to $120 for the rest of the crops. And that's because of our seed being donated.
Yep. Yeah, we pre-bought it. Yeah. Yep. Correct. That's just kind of how like when we were making our crop plans, that's just kind of how it worked out. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Caleb will answer it. So the question was, how come we put the flax on LC20 instead of LC26?
So the main reason was basically because of crop rotation. In order to follow our crop rotation, LC20 was the open field. And we did research on the flax, and the actual perfect stubble to go on it was wheat. So that was ideal for us because last year it was wheat. And then we also wanted to do a trial right along the highway to give everyone a good view. So yeah. Yeah, up there. So the question was if the cost of fuel and transport was taken into account with our opportunity cost. Would you be able to answer that, Justin?
No, you said it right, Caleb. It's in our opportunity costs as well. Oh, maybe I misunderstood the question. Courtney will answer that for you.
So usually for the marketing part, if you're going through a broker, which will come to your yard and pick it up, which is what you're asking, most of the time the delivery is arranged depending on where the actual buyer is. But most of the time when you sign that contract, the delivery is arranged so that you don't necessarily have to pay any extra cost for that. And usually when we are choosing where to sell, if it's in town, we can deliver ourselves, which not much cost there.
Yes. So the question was, we should double our acres, and I'll pass that question on to Courtney.
So the nice thing is that if we do go through a broker, there could be, like you said, some leftover bushels that don't necessarily go on the load. But we have spoken to Viterra in town here, and they did say they would take flax. Just not a preferred crop, but they would still take it.
Yep. Okay. Yep. We have not thought of that, but take that into consideration. So the question was, what are we going to do with the extra commodities? Because we are short in kind of like bins. And we do have a bin committee going on. So they're looking at buying couple extra bins for more storage.
Also, add on to your question, we have, as you will listen to the rest of the presentation, we have pre-sold some commodities, so there will be room there. And majority of the grain companies are more than willing to take this in early.
Thank you.
My name is Austin Larson. I'm from Shawbrook, Saskatchewan, and today I'll be talking about barley and corn silage.
I am Morgan Bollier. I'm from Shell Lake, Saskatchewan, and I was on the mixed farm team this year.
My name's Brett Borth. I'm from Killam, Alberta, and I was a member of the mixed farm this year. So for our 2021 corn silage, we started seeding the silage, or the corn, on May 27th, and we finished seeding on May 30th. It was silaged on September 16th, and the variety we used was P6909R. And if you look on the map there, the red star shows what field it was seeded in, and it was LC14. The corn ended up yielding 10.3 metric tons this year, which we were really happy with, given that it was a pretty bad drought around here. The moisture content was 64%, which we were also happy with. You shoot to try and get 60% moisture content in corn, so we were happy with that. And if you look at the yield map here, the red areas show the poor spots in the field, and the green show the better spots. It gives you kind of an idea. For our corn silage costs, our inputs were around $167 an acre. Our custom was around $31 an acre. Our equipment and repairs were around $30 an acre. The insurance was around $17 an acre, and our opportunity cost was $120 an acre. And for our corn, the input costs on our corn silage, our pesticides cost around $37 an acre. The fertilizer was $48 an acre, and the seed and seed treatment was $81 an acre. So the financial summary for the corn silage, our income was around $402 an acre. The expenses were $365 an acre, and the net margin was $37 an acre.
And now we have the barley silage for the 2021. So the seeding date was May 27th, and it was wrapped up by the 30th. And it was silaged on July 30th, 2021. And the variety is CDC Austinson. And just on the map here, where the stars are, it shows where we had the barley this last year for the silage, so on LC18 and LC45. So on LC45, it yielded 1.7 metric tons an acre and moisture about 64%. And on LC18, 2.5 metric tons an acre and about 59%. And usually for barley silage, we aim for 65%, so just a little bit lower. And then on the bottom of the screen, so on your left-hand side, we have LC18 there, and what these maps are representing is just the yield. So the red, not so good areas, and the green are the really good areas. For the 2021 barley silage, so the inputs this year were $140. Custom, inputs $140 an acre. Custom was $31 an acre. Equipment and repairs $30 an acre. Insurance $14 an acre, and the opportunity cost is $120 an acre. For pesticides was $56 an acre. For fertilizers, $41 an acre, and for seed and seed treatment was $43 an acre. So the 2021 financial summary, so our income was $368, and our expenses are $335 an acre, and our net margin comes out to be $33. So how we sold our silage this year. So we sold our silage to 4 different teams. So the commercial unit, the research unit, the purebred unit, and the dairy unit. And we priced at 10% over our expense and our guaranteed margin.
All right, for 2022 crop rotation, we decided to put barley silage on LC14 and half of LC13. The corn is going to go on LC45 and the other half of LC13. The reason why we split LC13 is you have to put in 300 acres of silage for the beef side and animal side. With this, there's 170 acres of barley and 130 acres of corn. Splitting LC13 allowed us to have everything very close to the farm as well as the right amount of acres. So there's going to be 37 acres on LC13 of corn as well as 93 on LC45. The variety we went with this year was P6909R, which is a Roundup Ready corn variety. It's been high yielding in the area. It's very early maturing, and it provides the energy and starches that dairy prefers, and they do very well with it. For the planting, we don't have a corn planter on the college, so we had to hire it out. So it's going to cost us an extra $29 an acre, and we're going to shoot for 32,000 seeds per acre, which is a good stand for silage, with 80 pounds of nitrogen deep banded with the drill before we go in there with the planter. 20 pounds of this is going to be ESN, so we have some slow release so we can get some nitrogen to the plants throughout the growing season. For pre-seed, we're going to go with glyphosate and AIM on LC13 and LC45. The reasoning for this is we have 2 modes of action, as well as the AIM can be applied on the barley side and the and the corn side, so we don't have to switch any tank mixes or anything like that, make it easy on the custom applicator. And for in-crop, we're going to go with glyphosate and Sortan, which should take care of any problems.
So for our projected corn costs for 2022, we're looking around $270 per acre on inputs, $54 per acre on custom, $29 an acre on equipment and repairs, $22 an acre on insurance, and again $120 an acre for your opportunity cost. And then the projected input cost for the corn silage, we're going to be looking at around $75 an acre for pesticides, $108 an acre on fertilizer, and for seed and seed treatment, $87 an acre.
For the barley this year, we're going to go with 130 acres on LC14 and 40 acres on LC13. The variety we're going to go with CDC's variety we're going to go with is CDC Austinson, due to the good luck that the college has had in the past, as well as it provides a very stable silage. And we're going to try and go with 33 pounds per square foot, which should yield a high amount of silage off of these acres and hopefully use the power position to press out any weed issues. These are the fertilizer blends we had come up with. We found them by talking with James, our school's agronomist, setting yield goals as well as looking at past years' soil samples, and then we look what we need to apply. And we're not going to be putting all this in the seed row. We're going to be only putting the P and K with the seed. And for the pre-burn, we're going to be going with glyphosate and AIM just to make it easy. It's all going to be one application, no tank mixes or nothing. And then for in-crop, we're going to go with Liquid Achieve and Pixero. We picked this due to the pre-harvest intervals as well as the maximum residue limits because we are feeding this.
And for the projected 2022 silage, barley silage, so the inputs is $186 an acre. For custom is $27 an acre. Equipment and repairs is $29 an acre. Insurance is $22 an acre. And opportunity cost is $120 an acre. And for the projected barley 2022, so the pesticides is $40 an acre. Fertilizer is $97 an acre. And for seed and seed treatment, it's $49 an acre.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Yeah.
I have a quick one. Maybe I missed it, but you showed the fertilizer plan for barley. Did you also have that for corn?
The question was, we showed the fertilizer plan for barley, and we're wondering if we did for corn. And we did, we just expressed it differently. It was just straight nitrogen going down with the corn.
And that'll be in all the acres. I'm getting around to asking you
No, we just lumped it together. There was no separate testing done. Yeah. The question was, we're just putting nitrogen down with the corn, and yes, actually the levels in LC45 for phos are almost toxic, so we're hoping to pull some of that out. So hopefully with this, the corn will pull some out without applying any. We're not going to put anything back into the soil, just use what's there. The question is why it's so toxic. I think because the amount of manure spread there, and just the cows are always grazing that. Yeah. We have, but, sorry, the question was not putting any potash down with the corn. We have considered that. We do know that it needs a little bit throughout the growing season, but the levels in the soil should be sufficient as long as it's available to the corn. So we're going to try and not apply any. Yep. The question was, what is an average silage yield? And I think Morgan and Brett can answer that.
Well, I think we'd hope to get better than, what was it, 1? I think we'd try and do a little better than 1 ton per acre on our barley, hopefully. But we were pretty happy with the 10, so around there would be good, I guess.
The question was why we haven't really thought of getting some better technology for planting corn and other things. We come up with a capital list that you'll see later, and the corn planter is on there. Yep. The question was, we're charging more for the barley silage than the corn silage, and Wade can answer that, I think.
So on the silage, past years it has been based off of market price, so we usually go 8 times the feed barley price. This year we decided to talk with the folks on the animal side of things, and we're actually going to do just a set rate of 10% above what our expenses are. That way it's even throughout the next few years. Next year we'll get to make the same decision on whether they'd like to go that way or back to the market price, but that way we just have a guaranteed income, so it's a little bit more stable that way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, JP. The question was what was grown on LC 1-3, and it was Liberty Link canola. We didn't really take that into consideration while making, but I think it'll be okay as long as you've lost some moisture and stuff. Caleb, can you help answer that question?
I'm pretty sure that is something we have brought up in our meetings. We have talked about that with Zenon, and there was, as far as we are concerned, we're not too concerned. The rotation with the corn and the barley on the same field should be good. There are no restrictions for next year or using the same fertilizer or herbicides. Up in the crowd.
The question is, if we don't cover the needs for the beef side, are they still going to pay 10%? And I think they are, yes. They will have to pay that either way because that's what we have agreed upon. If we are short on barley, we have the option crop. The malt can be used as silage if needed to cover that. Any other questions? No? All right. Up next is research.
Hello everyone, my name is Lisa Stang. I'm from Backland, Saskatchewan, and I was this year's research manager.
I'm Madison Vetter. I'm from Looseland, Saskatchewan, and I was on the research team.
And we are here to talk to you today about what the research side of SMF has been up to.
So last year's research team decided they wanted to do a student-led demo comparing Crystal Green to other synthetic phosphorus fertilizer. So first I'm going to give a little bit of background about Crystal Green, just keeping in mind all this information does come directly from the Crystal Green website. So Crystal Green is the first continuous release nutrient technology to provide root-activated phosphorus along with some nitrogen and magnesium in one citrate-soluble granule. So some of the benefits of this are that it reduces the risk of tie-up in the soil. It minimizes your risks of runoff and leaching. It's very seed safe as it has a low salt index, and it's sustainably produced. It's made from human waste. So as I mentioned, it's root activated, and what this means is that the release of the nutrients in the granule are triggered by the organic acids that are released by the plant's growing roots. So this just helps to make sure the phosphorus is available as the plant needs it. This is a layout of how the treatments went down. So treatment 1 was MAP applied at 38.5 pounds per acre, which is 20 pounds per acre actual phos. Treatment 2 was Crystal Green at 70 pounds per acre, which is 20 pounds per acre actual phos. Treatment 3 was Crystal Green at 125 pounds per acre, which is 35 pounds per acre actual phos. And treatment 4 had 0 applied phos. There was only one of these, and it was considered to be our check strip. So then in terms of harvesting, what we did was we sent the combine down the center of the treatment, leaving a little bit of overhang on either side just to avoid any potential crossovers that might have happened between the treatments to keep our results as accurate as we could. Then we unloaded the combine onto the weigh wagon, we recorded our weight, we took a sample and then emptied that onto the grain truck, and we repeated this process for each of the plots.
After harvesting, we took our samples out to the research center for processing. Here we got the moisture content, weighed the samples as is to get a dirty weight, hand sieved the excess chaff out to get a clean weight, then we also got a 1,000 kernel weight and a green seed count. From there, we crunched the numbers and came up with these results from our Crystal Green student-led demo. From this, we can determine that Crystal Green did not statistically affect the yield of the crop. One thing to keep in mind here is that the 0 applied phosphorus only had 1 plot, whereas the other 3 treatments each had 3 plots, so it's difficult to compare straight across the board, and there's more information about this in your booklet. This wrapped up our Crystal Green student-led demo, and we are very grateful to anyone who helped out with that. This past fall, we had the opportunity to work with Leighton from BASF. He came out and did some DST canola variety trials with us, and invited us students out to the field with him when it was time to harvest. This was a really cool opportunity for me because it was my first experience with professional research. This upcoming fall, we will get to work with Hayden from BASF to do some more DST canola variety trials, and we've decided to put them on LC17, which is the field outlined in red. We're still in the process of finalizing these treatments, but we look forward to continuing this project.
This year's research team decided to create a student-led demo exploring the different effects that 3 different types of manures have on soil and crop yield. And the 3 manures that we're going to be focusing in on are solid dairy cattle, beef cattle, and equine.
The question that we are posing to next year's research team is, does manure type affect soil characteristics differently? And this will be examined further as follows. We've decided to put the 2022 student-led demo on LC12, which is this field here. It is just northwest of the college, and our plots will be out on the south part of the field, outlined in red. We chose this field because it is flat and uniform, which is ideal for field trials, and it has also had no solid manure applications in the past 3 years. Proximity-wise, it is close to the college, which will make hauling easier, and as of right now, we are planning on incorporating all the manure, since the Alberta government states that manure must be applied at least 150 meters from a residence or other occupied building if service applied and not incorporated within 48 hours. The plots on the east side will fall into this 150 meter zone, so we will incorporate all of our plots to keep it consistent. LC12 is currently planned to be peas for the upcoming crop year, and since our demo will be looking at soil characteristics, peas are actually ideal to grow here since they are nitrogen fixing and will therefore affect the soil as well.
So what you see here is the layout of how our treatments are going to go down. They're organized in what's called a randomized complete block design. This is a standard design for all field-scale agricultural experiments. It just takes into consideration the different variations that can happen throughout the field to keep your results as accurate as you can. So we have 4 treatments that are going to be replicated 3 times. Treatment 1 is going to be synthetic fertilizer. This will be applied at the recommended rate for the field and crop type. Treatment 2 is equine manure, treatment 3 is dairy manure, and treatment 4 is beef manure. All of the manures are going down at 3 tons per acre, and we did this because when we talked to manure spreaders, they said that 3 tons per acre is typically the amount that they apply for the college, so we decided to go with this to keep it as simple as we can for everyone involved.
Since we will not be on campus when our demo is put into action, we have decided to get soil and manure tests done. Summer students already put up with a lot of our crap, and it's a pretty big ask to get them to stand out there and literally collect it, but we appreciate them more than they will ever know. Soil tests will be done prior to manure application, and then again shortly before seeding, so that we know what nutrients the peas had available to work with. These are some tests that we would like to see done over the summer, but again, we won't be here, so it will depend on the summer staff and how busy they get. The harvest tests will be similar to the ones we did for Crystal Green, with the exception being protein, and these will be completed and processed by next year's research team.
We are recommending to next year's team that they harvest this the same way that we did Crystal Green. So again, going down the center of the plot, just leaving a little bit of overhang on either side to avoid any potential treatment crossovers that might have happened. And some of the benefits that we see coming out of this really are applicable to real-world farmers, and especially mixed farmers, because they can potentially use the manure that they already have on hand to create healthier soils for themselves and improve their soil structure.
These are our references, and we would be happy to take any questions you might have. Peter, I knew you were going to have one for me. So the question was, have we decided what characteristics about the soil specifically we're looking at? Right? Okay. And we're still looking into that more, but we're really interested in the water and how if the water holding capacity of the soil will improve. I'd like to call Autumn back to the stage.
So at this time, we will take our intermission. It'll be about 15 minutes, so it's 3:30, so we'll meet back here at 3:45. There is snacks and drinks in the cafeteria. It is just up the stairs and to the left, so we invite you over there, and we look forward to seeing you soon. So welcome back, everyone. We'll get started with the second half of the presentations, and we're going to start off with wheat.
Hello everybody, my name's Hannah Palmer. I'm from Oxbow, Saskatchewan, and we're here to talk to you about wheat.
Hi, I'm Travis Nikifork. I'm from Sturgeon County, Alberta, and I was a member of the production team this year.
Hello, I'm Paramveer and I'm from Punjab, India, and I was the part of the mixed farm team this year.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Huber and I'm from Landis, Saskatchewan, and I was the manager of the mixed farm this year.
I'm Tucker Bentley. I'm from Thorsby, Alberta, and I was part of the marketing team this year.
My name is Braden Nimchuk. I'm from Lamont, Alberta, and I was on the analysis team this year.
So this past year for 2021 wheat, we seeded Landmark on LC20 and AAC Wheatland on LC17. We seeded the Landmark at 140 pounds an acre, whereas the Wheatland was seeded 129 pounds an acre. The reason for this was the different TKWs between the varieties and just the desired plant stands that we had for each one. Both were treated with Raxel Pro, and then the fertility blend for LC20 was 85, 35, 10, 0, and on 17 was 85, 20, 10, 0, and we side banded the N and seed placed the P and K. For the pesticides, on LC20 and 17, they had the same pre-seed burn-off of Blackhawk and glyphosate. Also same with in-crop, we had Infinity FX and Vario. Both were sprayed with a fungicide. The reason for this was because it was looking like there was going to be some disease present, and it was looking like a wet year, but in reality, no one expects a drought, and that's kind of what happened. So, a bit unfortunate, but it's the way it goes, I guess. And then they were both pre-harvest with glyphosate, and that was for perennial weed control.
So this year with the hot and dry summer and the drought, just like any other crop, our harvest was quite early. LC17 came off about mid-August and LC20 shortly right after that. We weren't too concerned with moisture, but rather temperature. Our moisture was coming off at 11%, and our temperature was like 30 to 35 degrees, so that's where our concern was slightly. Having said that, we had wheat in 2 bins on the farm this year, bin 4 on this bin yard and the hopper bin on the bar farm. Bin 4 had a fan on it, so once the wheat came off, we ran the fan for a couple of days, moved some air through it, just got the air circulated, and then a couple weeks later we did it again, just to again move the air through, make sure there was no hot pockets in there. The hopper bottom at the bar farm had no fan on it, so what we did with that is just like the barley, we took 2 loads out of it, left it overnight, left the lid on the bin open, made sure everything cooled off, and put it back in and just turned that bin over, and with that we were satisfied with our wheat storage, and we didn't have any spoilage on the wheat this year. And then here's just a graph of our wheat yields for the farm and others in the area. So the blue is the Wheatland and the orange is the Landmark. On the farm here, our Wheatland yield is 29 bushels an acre and our Landmark was 37. The reason for the difference in yields from our farm on both fields and even in the area was simply because of the hit and miss showers this year in the drought. Your neighbor could have got a couple tenths and you could have got nothing, and that's what made all the difference this year with the drought. And the numbers, just like the other yield graphs, came off Farm Command and the others in the area.
So this year with contracting wheat, we had 2 main grain buyers, G3 here in town, and then Grains Connect out of Vegreville. We had mainly GPOs this year, as Tate mentioned earlier, trying to take advantage of the target pricing. And then we had 1 deferred delivery to Grains Connect, and this was because there was a premium on that day. And as of right now, we have 10 metric ton left to sell, and we will sell it at spot price. Here's a quick graph of where we sold at and the prices following. And then the stars represent where we sold, and as you can see, they're higher than what the market was that day, and that was thanks to our GPOs and premium.
Okay, so now on to our expenses here. So these are our total wheat costs. For our inputs, we're sitting at $166 per acre. For our custom, we're sitting at $39 per acre. For equipment and repairs, we're sitting at $30 per acre. And for our insurance, $16 per acre. And then our opportunity cost is $120. And then for our input costs broken down, we have $67 going towards pesticides, $57 going towards fertilizers, and $42 going towards seed and seed treat. So for our income on our wheat from 2021 is $452. per acre, and our expenses are at $366 per acre, so then our net margin is $86 per acre. And then based on our average yield of 34.6 bushels per acre, we only needed 1057 to actually break even.
So let's talk about our plans for this year's wheat. So speaking of variety, we are going with AAC Brandon, which is a CWRS wheat. It has low lodging score, which means the crop will not lay over, and it has strong straw. So it will be easier to straight cut, which will save us some time. And it has a good disease package, and thus it offers protection from the diseases such as leaf rust or stripe rust, and it can save us some money if we have a disease outbreak. And it's a semi-dwarf variety, which means it'll have good crop standability. Talking about the acres, so in total we are planning on 335 acres, so 50 of which are going to be on LC26C, which is a research plot for the applied research team, and ALO1 will have 135 acres, and LC25 will have 150 acres.
Okay, so these are the two fields that we're going to be seeding this wheat on this year. And LC25 is 138 acres, and that's just 5 miles west of the college here. And we also are putting wheat on LC26C for the applied research plot. And ALO1 is 135 acres, and that's just northwest of the college here. Just you can see it out the front door just about. So expected yield goals this year is on ALO1 we're expecting 60 bushels an acre, and on LC25 and LC26C we're expecting 70 bushels an acre. And we got these expected yield goals from past years and past yields of past years crops, and based it off a good year of like 5 to 7 inches of rain. And there's a little bit of a difference in these expected yield bushels because ALO1 is a very hilly and saline soil. And LC25 and LC26 are very good flat ground.
So looking into next year's marketing, we had a target hit at 1125 for G3 for October delivery, and just recently we set another target for 1350 to G3 as well. That is October delivery. Here's that one target hit there, and as you can see, the recent spike is from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has drove the price of wheat up lots.
So for the 2022 plans for wheat, like we said, we're planning on ALO1 and LC25 and LC26C. Our seeding rate is going to be 132 pounds per acre, and that's with the TKW and our desired plant stand of 30 plants per foot squared. And fertility for ALO1 is going to be 70, 15, 5, and LC25 and 26C will be 60, 30, 10. And again, we'll be splitting the N into sideband and seed place in the P and K. And we got these fertility blends based on our expected yield goals, as well as the soil samples from what's on the field, just so we know what we need to put down to achieve our yield goal. For the pesticide plan, we did actually spray ALO1. I never included in here last year post-harvest, so we don't actually really need to do a pre-seed, but if the college decides to do a pre-seed, we are going to go with glyphosate, Express Pro, and Focus. And on LC25 and 26C, we're going to do glyphosate and Express Pro. The reason that the pre-seed burn-offs aren't the same is because there's suspected Group 1 wild-resistant oats in ALO1, and Focus does a pretty good job in taking care of wild oats that are resistant to Group 1 and 2. For our in-crops, we're going to do the same for both. It's going to be Pixar on axial, and then our fungicide is Carambin. And we're not sure if we're going to need a fungicide because we don't really know what the future is going to hold, what diseases are going to be prevalent, or what it's going to look like. Hopefully we don't need one, but this is the fungicide we chose if we need one. And then for there's going to be no pre-harvest on ALO1, so we're probably going to swap that one. And then on LC25 and 26C, We have a pre-harvest of glyphosate for perennial weed control because I think it's going to be a little bit needed.
Okay, now we're on to our 22 costs. So our inputs are sitting at $215 per acre. That is actually about a 29.5% increase from last year. Our custom is at $33 per acre. Our equipment and repairs are at $29 per acre. Our insurance is at $22 per acre, and our opportunity cost is still at $120. So our pesticides here, this is our broken down inputs. Our pesticides are at $75 per acre, which is 11.9% increase from last year. Our fertilizer is at $116 per acre, which is a 50.8% increase from last year. And our seed and seed treat is $48 per acre, which is a 12.5% increase. So our total income coming off of our 2022 crop, we're projecting $693 per acre with our expenses at $409 to give us a total net margin of $284 per acre. So based on the expected yields of AL01 of 60 bushels, we only need $7.35 to actually break even. And then with our expected yield off of LC25 of 70 bushels per acre, we only need $6.36 per acre. And based on the current futures market price right now of about $12.20, we only need 36 bushels per acre to actually break even. So now are there any questions? Yes, sir? So the question was, what percentage of insurance do we take on our crop insurance?
So in terms of crop insurance, we do have it, but it's still an audit and it's taking a little longer than usual. So we're not totally sure of our numbers yet. And these prices on the slides don't include those prices just because it's taking longer than usual. So we're not totally sure as to what we're taking yet. I'll turn this question over to Tyson as he knows more about the crop insurance.
Sorry, what was the question?
Crop insurance.
What's the question? Yeah, if you could repeat the question, that'd be great. Thanks. So, I think we take all of it, like crop and hail insurance would be included. Does that answer the question, or not really? That is a good question. I don't know.
I think we'll have to do some research on that question and get back to you. So if you could approach us after, we will find the right answer for you. Yes?
Okay.
All right. What? Yeah, we'll have to look into that too. So the question was, have we looked at the snowpack from this past year? We've looked at it somewhat, but probably not enough. We'll probably have to look more into that too as well. I'd like to welcome Peas up next.
Good afternoon. We'll now be talking about the peas. My name is Mackenzie DeVenis. I come from Birch Hill, Saskatchewan, and I was part of the finance team.
My name is Jacob Bexfield. I'm from Lashburn, Saskatchewan, and I was on the production team.
My name is Tyson Kirpin. I'm from Unity, Saskatchewan, and I was this year's analysis manager.
Unfortunately, Reagan was unable to join us this evening.
So for the pea production last year, they did a total of just over 180 acres of peas. 48 acres of that was on LC26C, and those are yellow peas. AL01 was a split pea field. Half was green, half was yellow. On the west side was the yellow peas, and those were CDC Canary, and then on the east side it was green peas, and they were CDC Forest. So for the fertilizer blend they did last year, they did a blend of 4.23-20-00. The 4.23 N is just the inherent nitrogen from the phosphorus fertilizer. It was applied at a rate of 38.46 pounds an acre, and they also used Tag Team as their inoculant. The pesticide plan that they did last year, so for the seed treatment, they used Trilex Evergol. The pre-seed burn-off, they used glyphosate and heat. The in-crop on AL01, they used Odyssey Ultra, and then on LC26C, they did Viper ADV. The fungicide they applied was Delaro, and then the pre-harvest, which was for perennial weed control, was glyphosate.
So this year we had a very unusually dry and warm growing season. This resulted in an early start to harvest for the student-managed farm here at Lakeland College. We began harvest by combining AL01 on August 12th, followed shortly by doing LC26 on August 14th. So basically, immediately after the peas were combined, they were put on aeration. This was because we were seeing temperatures at 30 degrees Celsius and even just a little bit higher. From there, temperature and moisture were monitored. This was just due to concerns we had with any green material that came off the field from harvest, along with those high temperatures. We didn't want to see any of our peas spoil, and it seemed once we put those peas on aeration right away, it did a good job of bringing that temperature down into a safe zone, and we never had to intervene or turn any of our bins that had peas in them. So this year, the college's green peas had an average yield of 32 bushels per acre, which is just below but very close to the area's average of 33 bushels per acre. And the college's yellow peas actually yielded 29 bushels per acre on average, which is just above the area's average yield of 27 bushels per acre. So moving on to marketing, last year's marketing team on the SMF forward contracted 40 metric tons of yellow peas to Cargill here in Vermilion at a price of $9.75 per bushel. This was just done due to some short storage concerns we have here on the farm. After that, our marketing team here went to work and contracted out the rest of our peas. At this time, there were some deferred pricing and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, so we weren't sure if we were going to be able to sell our peas sometime later on or even near in the future. So we set a target at Viterra here for $15.25 per bushel, which ended up triggering, and we hauled in the rest of our yellow peas. Moving on to green peas, this year we had a bit of an issue with our green peas. This was just due to the fact that we had too much bleaching in our peas and therefore did not meet human consumption standards and had to be sold for feed. At this time, a lot of feedlots weren't taking peas into their ration, but we did approach the livestock stream here at the student-managed farm and agreed upon a price of $10.75 per bushel and sold our green peas. As you can see on the chart for our yellow peas this year, that red star is where we sold our peas at $15.25 per bushel, And as you can see, those green and yellow lines are where some of the briars had quit buying peas, so we just weren't sure if we were going to get the opportunity later on to sell. So where that resistance in the market was is where we decided to haul in our peas at.
Our green pea costs per acre, we spent $173 an acre on inputs, $34 an acre on custom work, $30 an acre on equipment and repairs, $22 an acre on insurance, and again, $120 on our opportunity cost. To break down our green pea input costs, we spent $68 an acre on pesticides, $30 an acre on fertilizer, and $75 an acre on seed and seed treatment. For our yellow peas, we spent $146 an acre on inputs, $34 an acre on custom work, $30 an acre on equipment and repairs, $22 an acre on insurance, and again, $120 an acre on our opportunity costs. To break down our yellow pea inputs, we spent $68 an acre on pesticides, $30 an acre on fertilizer, and $47 an acre on seed and seed treatment. Our 2021 financial summary, our income came out to be $449 an acre, while our expenses came out to be $550, which gave us a net loss of $101 an acre. To break even with our green peas, we would have had to sell at $15.50 a bushel, and for our yellow peas, we would have had to sell at $14.89 a bushel.
So for this year, for the pea production, we're putting our yellow peas on LC12. And the reason we chose LC12 was it was a cereal crop last year, is barley, and that's what peas do best on, as well as we looked at scouting reports last year for weeds and talks with our agronomist James, and it was a fairly clean field for the weeds, so that's good for peas because they're poor competitors. And then the plot on LC26A, that's just a 50-acre plot, and that is for applied research. So the pea variety we're going with this year is CDC Canary. The reason we chose CDC Canary is because it's a very high-yielding, early maturing variety. It has good standability in terms of lodging, and it also is resistant to powdery mildew. And then we came up with a rate of 180 pounds an acre for a seeding rate, and we took our TKW and German Vigor into account to come up with that, and it'll help us get to that desired plant stand of 7 to 9 plants per foot squared. So for pesticides plans this year, we decided to go with Trilex Evergol as a seed treatment, as that had the best disease package. It gets your botrytis, suppresses ascochyta, and your root rots. And then for the pre-seed, we're going with glyphosate and Veraxer, as that has a couple different modes of action, and it'll cover most of your problem broadleaf and grassy weeds for the peas. For the in-crop, we're going with Viper ADV, and that'll again cover most of your broadleafs and grassies. However, since it is applied in the earlier stages of the pea growing stage, and since it was a barley crop last year, you might get that late flush of volunteer barley, and if that's the case, we will come back with Assure 2 to knock those down. And then the fungicide we're going with is Delaro, and that'll cover your, it'll suppress ascochyta and mycosphaerella and white and gray molds, which are common in peas. And then for the pre-harvest, we are hoping to use the Reglan as a desiccant, as that's what research needs for their plot on LC12, and it'll just make the job easier for the custom applicator. It'll also allow next year's production team to have the chance to keep the peas for seed. And then, but if we, upon scouting in the fall, if there is big weed populations there, we will have to use glyphosate on that. So for the target yield, we set our yield target at 60 bushels per acre. And to come up with that, we took the previous yields the college has had the last few years for peas. And then also, obviously, moisture is going to have the biggest effect on that. But we set it at 60 because if we do happen to get lots of moisture, we won't be missing out on yields like we would from setting a lower target. And then that leads us into the fertility plan. So based on last fall's soil samples and our yield goal and talks with our agronomist James, we decided a blend of 0, 15, 0, 0 would be best for the peas, and it will all be seed placed as pea is immobile in the soil. And that'll just allow the peas to get that pop-up effect, stimulate their early root growth. and we'll be applying that at 28.85 pounds an acre. And then for the inoculant, we decided to go with NutriAg's BOS inoculant. That's a fairly new inoculant that came out. It's similar to Tag Team, but it was a bit cheaper per bag, and that'll just help fix, help the rhizobia form the relationship with the roots to fix nitrogen in the soil.
So this year's marketing team has done a bit of forward contracting of the yellow peas for next year. We've set 2 targets at Viterra here in Vermilion for 23 metric ton in the futures month of October. The first target we put in was for $12.25 per bushel, and that target has actually just triggered. And we most recently just put in another one for 13 bushels or $13 per bushel, and we're waiting on that target to trigger. We have a very good long-standing relationship with Viterra, and this will allow us to haul in our peas between August to October and take a little bit of stress off of next year's students who are going to be hauling in our new crop. We're very fortunate right now to be taking advantage of some pretty strong new crop prices, and this should definitely help out the college's bottom end in the fall. So this chart here in the top right corner, our red star is where our $12.25 per bushel target is, and it's at one of the peaks in the market. So that is great news for the college's SMF going into next fall.
Now our 2022 projected costs for our yellow peas, we plan to spend $185 an acre on inputs, $47 an acre on custom work, $22 an acre on equipment and repairs, $29 an acre on insurance, and again, $120 an acre on our opportunity costs. To break down our yellow pea inputs, we're spending $75 an acre on pesticides, $18 an acre on fertilizer, and $92 an acre on seed and seed treatment. Our 2022 financial summary, we plan to have an income of $600 an acre, while our expenses are planned to be $402 an acre, which will give us a net income of $198 an acre. Our 2022 break-evens, with our expected yield of 60 bushels an acre, we would need to sell at $671 a bushel. Based on our current future price of $12, we would need a yield of 34 bushels an acre. Any questions?
First of all, just to thank all of the groups, I really enjoyed this. But just a very straightforward question about yellows versus greens. How do you make that choice on the split within your growing and marketing program?
So the question was, how did we decide the split between yellow and greens? And I will give that to Jacob.
So yeah, I believe we chose to grow yellow peas this year just because they had that problem with bleaching last year, and green peas are just a lot harder to market. No one really grows them around here.
Yeah, this year, or the question was, sorry, do we have crop insurance, and have we had to make any claims this year? Yeah, as it's been known, we had a drought this year, and so we put in a crop insurance claim due to that reason. The crop insurance is in audit, and none of the prices that are in the slideshow have crop insurance funds in them. The question was, if the peas weren't bleached, where would we have probably sold them to? And I'm going to defer that to Courtney here.
So last year we were passed on a short list, but definitely a list of green pea buyers. And the one that we were looking towards was, I can't quite remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I think it's AGT Foods in Gibbons. So that was a big one. But yeah, we just had to sell it for feed. Yeah, it would have been pretty close to yellow peas, so around like $15, but now it's up to $17. Yeah.
The question is, why did some of the buyers or feedlots quit buying early into the season? And I'll defer that to Courtney as well.
So more for the yellow peas, because obviously our greens were for feed. It was more to do with, well, I just weren't 100% sure. They didn't have a whole lot of prices for January and in the new year. And then, yeah, if you're wondering why we set our target when we did and then the market spiked, is simply because the market had been staying pretty steady. I just hadn't seen any movement, and there's no like major things that influence the pea market, unlike the Russia-Ukraine war, stuff like that.
Up next is special projects.
We are special projects. I'm Jody McWatters. I'm from just outside of North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and I'm the project manager.
Hello, my name is Logan Horniak. I am this year's general manager, and I am from Quill Lake, Saskatchewan.
Hi, I'm Jaden Kramer. I'm from Bard, Alberta, and I was on the mixed farm team.
I'm Connor Haven. I'm from Milford, Saskatchewan. I'm on the mixed farm team.
My name's Kyle Kaup. I'm from Sturgeon County, Alberta, and I was on the analysis team.
I'm Erin Olivier, and I'm from Patricia, Alberta, and I was on the mixed farm team.
I'm Emily Hartley. I'm from Brandon, Manitoba, and I was the Public Relations Manager.
My name is Brittany Thomas. I'm from Vermilion, Alberta, and I'm on the research team.
So to start off the year, we started with our staging committee. Our staging committee allows us as students to go out to our fields and determine whether our crops are mature enough to take off. So as everyone knows, the growing season we were given was quite difficult. So by the time we got here to the college in September, a large portion of our harvest was already complete. So for what was left us for takeoff was roughly 16 acres of wheat, 100 acres of barley, and 390 acres of canola. For the wheat that was in LC17, we took that off in our grain harvesting labs. For the barley that was in LC12, we took the swath off as we did our combine checkoffs. And for the canola in LC13, LC19, and LC25, we took that off with our harvest teams. Our harvest team consists of 4 teams with 8 people per team, where we combined this canola over 4 days. Our committee decided that we wanted to straight cut all of our canola, and we went out to LC13 and did a test cut where our moisture content and green count came back good, so we were off to combine. When we were done, we noticed that there was a significant amount of regrowth in LC13 and LC19, where we decided that we wanted to spray. But before spraying, we considered a few controversies. First, the SMF livestock unit had a limited feed supply, so they were wanting to use our canola for feed. Secondly, any nitrate poisoning that could arise from having a later frost than usual. And lastly, any germination issues that could arise in the following year. In the end, the SMF livestock unit did not want to use the canola for feed, so we went ahead with spraying. We sprayed both LC13 and LC19 with Roundup Transorb HC at a rate of 0.67 liter and a 10 gallon per acre water volume at a cost of $8.93 over a total of 169 acres. And this was our committee. Next, we had a grain shack committee. So the grain shack that was existing on the farm had become infested with mice, and for the safety of all staff and farm students, the decision was made to purchase a new one. With having a new one, our committee went out and configured a few specs that we wanted to put into our new grain shack. So we came up with 3 options of building it ourselves, purchasing it from UFA here in Vermilion, or allowing the second-year carpentry class here at Lakeland build it for us. In the end, our committee went ahead with purchasing it from UFA here in Vermilion, with giving us the reassurance that we wouldn't have to juggle our busy school schedule and the winter months when we had to build it. Purchased from UFA was an 8x10 shack with fully insulated floor, tin walls and roof that matched the colored color scheme of beige and green. It's been wired by a journeyman electrician that was improved by the college, and our committee has been insulating the inside and putting all the finishing touches in. A heater has been added so we can use it as a warm-up shack in the winter when we're hauling grain, and to keep our moisture tester in it all year round. As a committee, we wanted to add our own personal touch to it, so we created the idea of having this bin board. This bin board gives everybody a quick visual of what our bin yard looks like. So on the board, in each bin, there'll be the number that corresponds to the bin in our yard, as well as the capacity of the bin, the commodity in it, and how much the commodity it's in. As well on the bin board is contact numbers to each grain company we deal with, and also farm staff members. In the end, to get the grain shack here on our farm did hit a few bumps in the road, but UFA did become very accommodating after some professional and skillful negotiating skills, and now we have our new flashy grain shack here on farm to allow all of us croppers to advance the farm productivity and hands-on experience that SMF offers.
This year, SMF had the opportunity to work with Trimble's Ag Sustainability Team. There we got to learn about carbon credits, how to reduce our greenhouse gases and sequester our carbon. From that, it's calculated through seedbed utilization, which means a low disturbance opener, such as a disc, is allowed up to 2 passes, while a high disturbance opener, such as our New Holland Precision Hoe Drill, is allowed up to 1 pass. This year, we chose to go into the voluntary market. The voluntary market is a lot like the futures market, where the prices are varied and we don't exactly have an exact price at this moment. Our contract will be going from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Right here is we're in Parkland soil zone. For us to create carbon, it takes us 9 acres to make 1 ton of carbon. We're allowed to use 884 acres. For us, we're estimating a price or profit of $1,300.26, which is roughly giving us $1.50 an acre. Here in the red stars are where we're going to be sequestering our carbon from. On the other fields where there is no stars, we cannot get any carbon from due to we pro-tilled the fields. And this is our committee.
So, as everyone knows, this year was extraordinarily hard on crops. Stress was nationwide and there was no avoiding it. And throughout SMF crops, concerns grew for next year's growing season. But luckily, through a personal contact, we were approached to do a field demo with Stoller Enterprises, and that demo will be aimed in the mitigating of crop stress. So a committee was formed and 2 products and 2 crops had to be chosen in order to complete the demo. And the 2 products that we chose from Stoller were BioForge Advanced and Excite Heat Blast. So BioForge Advanced is a product that is based on mitigating stress in crops during times of hot and cold periods, hail damage, or pesticide-induced stress. And due to this year's extraordinary heat surge, we believe that there might be a low moisture level which could affect our crop during our herbicide timing, and that's where we feel this product could really excel. Our second product, Excite, mitigates stress, but also enhances growth, allowing for a larger standability and branching, which could potentially increase our yield if stress is not a factor for next year's crop. One cool thing about the product is that it is new and upcoming, and so next year's SMF student and Ag Tech students will get to experience that product in action, while many other people have never even heard of the product or even know what it does. As a committee, we needed to create goals that we could base this field demo on, as well as relate back to our SMF goals. And those are to increase our student involvement in the ag industry, increase the usage of new technology in our donated equipment like the grain cart, and gain new knowledge in plant hormones and biostimulants that are a rapidly growing piece of agriculture. Along with our goals, we needed to create questions, or we chose to create questions for next year's SMF. Those questions are in an Excel spreadsheet that will be passed down to next year's SMF crew. In those questions, we wanted to use those for possibly information or assignment purposes for next year's students. And along with that, it can help with the aiding and understanding of soil probe and weather station data for the Ag Tech students. Our first crop we chose was malt barley on LC19, and the goal of this trial was to mitigate our herbicide-induced stress as well as any sort of moisture stress. Along with that, we wanted to see if the product did increase our protein percentage on the barley, which then could affect marketing's ability next year to sell that barley at a malt barley price. And due to Excite's ability to possibly create a larger yield, we wanted to see if it created a difference between an unapplied crop versus an applied crop of the product. Our second crop was flax on LC20, and due to the rising flax market, we thought it would be a great opportunity to try a product like Excite on the flax when it came to that yield difference. Along with that, we wanted to do BioForge Advance and Excite on flax, to being flax's poor ability to metabolize a herbicide, which then could affect our yield in the long run. So our committee wanted next year's students to have something to experiment with, along with have a little bit of fun when it came to the new technology in ag. We also like to add that the Ag Tech degree has agreed to be putting on a soil probe on LC19 and a soil probe weather station on LC20. And finally, our committee would like to say that this will give students a quick view of what they may experience in their career paths down the road, as well as something that they may want to bring back to their farm in the long run. And finally, our committee is very much looking forward to the outcome of this trial, along with a possible continued relationship between Lake Lions College's student-managed farm and Stoller Enterprises.
SMF was asked to map fields and pastures to get an accurate acre count. This will help us get a better idea on usable land for grazing, as well as a better idea on cost for inputs. Trimble Ag Technology was used to survey the land, as well as the T490 shown below. We ordered signs for all permanent field entrances. This will help students, new staff, visitors, and custom workers find their way around college land. This project was also beneficial for safety reasons, in case of an emergency and directions were hard to explain to an ambulance or something.
In early November, SMF was presented with the chance to demo the Landau tandem disc. Thanks to Webb's machinery, the demo ran very well at various depths, angles, and speeds. If you refer to the booklet on page 33, there's more information on the demo. The reason why SMF decided to do this demo was based on managing the pea residue. The demo was done on LC26C. This disc performed very well in sizing up the pea residue. We invited the first-year crop technology students to get used to SMF atmosphere, as well as to learn the field locations. A check strip was left in the southwest corner for next year's SMF team to compare the results of the demo, such as moisture content, germination, yield, and to see if there was difficulty seeding between the passes.
This year we were generously donated a Demco 1050 grain cart by Roy J. Kubica. This grain cart is going to be beneficial to the college because it has a built-in scale system, which will allow us to weigh each product off of each field to get a $1 per acre figure. And it'll also allow for next year's SMF crew to have 2 more students involved in the fields and really experience the hands-on learning here at Lakeland College. We were also fortunate enough to get a auger donated by Meridian in Camrose. It's an 8-inch auger by 46 feet. Our analysis team took our old donated auger from Meridian back down to Camrose, and we picked up the new one. And while we were down there, we got to tour the factory and how their bins are built. We also formed a bin committee this year, and we're looking at getting 2 new fertilizer bins, 5,000 bushels, and 2 new 4,000 bushel grain bins. The main reason we're looking at new bins is because we picked up some new land. And the budget for this is about $100,000. And the main reason we were looking at bins also is because by getting 2 fertilizer bins, we'll be able to buy fertilizer in the off season and potentially save money. And that's a picture of our committee.
So this year the college is receiving a new precision hoe drill. This is a 60-foot drill compared to our previous 30-foot drill, which is quite the upgrade. It folds up similar to a set of harrows, so it's very compact transportation, which will be good for maneuvering around the farm and through gates and such at our fields. It has a cam adjustment for seating depth, so instead of pulling pins and moving them up and down like by hand, you turn this cam and it'll adjust the seating depth, so that'll be handy for switching between crops and such. It also comes with blockage monitors, which our previous drill did not have. As for the cart, it's a P-series cart. It's 580 bushels, 4 compartments. It's a tow between. Our last one was a tow behind. This one has sectional control and it is variable rate compatible. So if we decide to do anything with that, this drill will handle it. As for bales in the farm this year, pea straw bales, we got 35 bales off of AL01. That had a nutrient value of about $14 an acre. As for barley straw, we got 155 bales, and that had a nutrient value of $25 an acre, and that was off of LC12. A lot of that nutrients is put back into the soil from the manure, which Jane will talk about.
So for manure application, so last spring they actually spread solid manure on LC13, LC11, LC20, and LCP21. So between these 4 fields, they spread just over 2,800 tons of solid manure. And none of this manure is actually incorporated. So on LC13 and LC20, the solid manure is actually just incorporated with the drill. And also last spring, they spread liquid manure on LC14, 15, and 16. So between these 4 fields, the average rate was 4,000 gallons an acre. That's around there because they're trying to empty out the pits. So some areas are a little bit lower, some are a little bit higher. And between those 3 fields, they spread just under 950,000 gallons of liquid manure. Then this past fall, they actually spreaded liquid manure again on AL01 and LC12. So between those 2 fields, it's just over 250 acres. Between those 2 fields, the rate was 4,000 gallons an acre. And we did a nutrient test on the soil, on the manure. Actually, this year the manure was very high in phosphorus because of the manure press in the dairy barn. So the press was not working, so there was a lot of solid matter in the lagoon. And then for the custom crew, we have a custom crew that come in to spread the liquid manure. So they actually have to agitate the pit before we spread, so that moves the nutrients all around in the pit. So then the nutrients are all like equal throughout the lagoon, so then your emergence is all the same and your crop growth, the staging is all the same. And for when we put the manure back into the field, we put back $55 an acre of nutrients. And we also, on LC12, we actually incorporated that manure with heavy harrows. So we had to incorporate that, like Lisa said, in their trial because of the Alberta regulations. So we actually used heavy harrows for that, and we spread it. We have 48 hours to incorporate on LC12. On AL01, we actually did not incorporate it because the heavy harrows were binding up the pea residue in that field. So we actually just did a lap around the outside of the field so that the manure would not run off, so it's for the Alberta regulations. And there's one house on the corner of that field that we flagged off so that we have the 150-meter buffer zone so that you cannot spread in that area. Is there any questions?
So the question was for the Stoller trial or Stoller demo, are we going to run the trial regardless of weather conditions or any input? And the question or the answer to that is yes. It is a for sure trial that is going to happen next year. It's been discussed between the custom applicator of the school as well as the teamwork between Stoller and the Ag Technology degree. Yep. So the question was, has SMF thought about purchasing a grain bagger rather than bins for storage concerns? And I can pass that on to Jody.
So yeah, as a committee, we looked into leasing or looking into used bins as well as a grain bagger and seeing if we could just leave them out in the field or selling at spot price.
So the question was, what are we going to do to work together with the SMF cattle and livestock side in order to figure out a situation for the manure? And Jaden can answer that question.
So yeah, actually Leroy was talking to some of the neighbors around here to actually selling our manure. So there's actually a field between LC13 and LC45 that's our neighbors. So we're actually trying to figure out if we can sell it to them. We could give it to them for free and then maybe build a relationship with our neighbors so we can maybe purchase that land in the future.
So the question was towards manure and if we would inject liquid manure or just constantly spray it and broadcast it on it, and Jaden can answer that one.
So yeah, so actually around here, most people just actually like surface apply that. So in order to eject it, you're gonna have to like pull your drag line through the culverts. The college actually did that quite a few years ago, and that actually costs almost 3 times as much to do that. So it's actually more of the financial side.
So the question was, is there going to be any extra additional work involved when it comes to the grain cart, being it is quite a bit bigger than the grain trucks? And Kyle, you can answer that one.
I don't think so. It's just an extra storage option in the field, and it's going to help with compaction issues, so we won't have to run the trucks because the grain cart's got way bigger tires. And as you'll see, we're also looking at capital purchases of getting a new truck too, and possibly it'll have a bigger box on it. So. Well, this doesn't really matter. You can unload into the truck, and then whatever's left in your grain cart, it'll still have that weight, and then you can dump into your other one. So.
Along with that, though, the scale does zero itself out. So every time that you are done unloading from the grain cart, it's as simple as pushing a button, and it will completely zero out the grain cart in order for it to get an accurate reading of what is left in the grain cart. Does that answer it? So the question was for bales on how a nutrient value was created.
So we took the nutrient value per bale and then how many acres we actually did bale and converted it that way. I don't remember exactly how many bales it was per acre, but that's how we got that number.
I'd like to bring Autumn and Caleb back up to the stage.
So now that you've heard from all the other presentations, we're here to just help wrap everything together and bring this presentation to a conclusion. So looking at our total 2021 finances, we spent a total of $451,014 on expenses. Our total income was $426,566. Looking at our inventory that's remaining in the bin and our current prices, we're looking at about a value of $55,667, which puts us at a net margin of $31,219.
So the projected finances for 2022, our expenses are at $523,995. The income we project is going to be $870,930 with a net margin of $346,935. So this year, as one of the jobs as an SMF, as all of an SMF, we were to come together and figure out pieces of equipment that we feel would benefit the college the most. The wish list that we came up with this year was harrows, a corn planter, and a grain cart, or a grain truck, sorry. The harrows we feel would benefit the college tremendously as it would give us the option to incorporate manure at optimal timing and also to do any field work that needs to be done to the college.
The addition of a corn planter would allow us to eliminate that custom expense to have a custom applicator plant our corn, as well as it would be another piece of equipment that could be used in lectures and lab discussions for the students to help enhance our learning. We also are looking at a new grain truck, as our old truck, which is called the Blueberry, is getting up there in age. It's got its quirks and it's nearing retirement. So in this new truck, we'll be looking for a single axle automatic transmission truck that can be driven by anyone who has a Class 5 license. As well, we would look at having a silage gate on the back, so possibly we could help with the silaging on the farm. Now, we have a whole lot of people we would love to thank, but if we named all of them, we'd be here all night. So, just to sum up and say some of the ones we really would like to say a huge thank you to: New Holland Agriculture, Webb's Machinery, Roy J. Kubica, Meridian Manufacturing, George Winnie, Six Strong Agronomy and James Oberhofer, Jeff Brown, Denise Martin, Chris Lehman, and Sharon Ryder, and all the farm staff that do so much work for us, every SMF advisor who's worked with us, all the grain companies that talk to us and help us out, Derek Sargent, who's our custom sprayer, BASF, Stoller Enterprises, and 2020 Seed Labs.
Thank you. Are there any final questions? So the question was, yeah, so just to clarify a little bit for people that don't know, we do have a full-time agronomist on the farm, James Overhofer. He comes every once a week, I think on Mondays, and he comes and he's monitoring our fields constantly, and he's giving those recommendations. With the herbicide plan and all of the pesticides, it's all just tentative. That's all projected, but he's the last call decision maker that would do that.
Any other questions? Peter? I can answer the manure question. So his question was looking at manure application and our value of $55 per acre of a nutrient value, where do we account our losses? So that value is determined, we take a nutrient test of the liquid manure. That tells us which nutrients are present, and we look at what are the available nutrients present in that manure. From that, we look at the fertilizer prices. When we determine that price, we use the previous year's set price. So whatever it was when they booked fertilizer in the fall. So every year it's like a year behind. So for these prices that you saw for manure and bales, that's using 2020. When we set the price for next year, it'll use 2021's price. So off of that price, we do a bunch of math, use a big spreadsheet, and it tells us basically the cost per pound of actual, which determines our price. That price at this moment does not account for any losses. Wade and I have taken on a new project that we're kind of looking into, where we would like to figure out how we could account for those losses in future years to make that price become more accurate. If there's no other questions, we would like to invite Jeff Brown to the stage, the Dean of Agricultural Sciences.
There, we've got it now. So just a round of applause for the students. Did a great job of presentations all afternoon. So I have a few thank yous that I wanted to throw out. The first is to the students. I think that they've done a great job. They did it without the benefit of, I think a lot of farmers, when you're in your production cycles, have the benefit of the coffee, the coffee room and being able to go out for coffee in the mornings. A lot less social with this crew. They had to deal with COVID all year long. And for most of their college careers, to be honest, which has been a real disadvantage. And I just want to thank everyone for sticking with us and pushing through. And I think you guys found a way, as most of us had to do through this pandemic, to be successful. So I just wanted to commend you for all of that. Next of all, I'd like to thank our industry partners that are here today. We have many of them that have been mentioned in this presentation and have really contributed to the student-managed farm. I want to thank our community who's here. We have a lot of people who are here at these presentations every year, ask the hard questions, and make our students think, which is super uncomfortable, but it's a major part of the program in terms of teaching people to critically think through problems. And it's something that's not going to stop here. It's going to happen in industry as well. So I just want to thank you for being on board as well, and our supporters as well. We talked about that critical thinking. I think that's the importance of SMF. We talk a lot about the learning you can't get in a textbook, and I think that this year is a prime example of that. When we have a global pandemic going on, we have all sorts of supply chain issues, we have things that make the typical rules of thumb that we would use in farming pretty much obsolete. So you have to be able to think through those problems. You have to be able to network, and I think you guys have done a great job of that. And I think everybody in the room is responsible for that information sharing and critical thinking process. So something I'm really proud of with this group on that side. I guess the gauntlet's been thrown down. So the first years that are live streaming in, that are watching the presentations, the ones that are in the room, we're going to be looking forward to you the next year. We say it every year that these presentations increase in quality every year, and I think you guys have done a great job. So just once again, thanks for coming. I guess we have a special presentation, or a draw, is that right? Are we doing that right now?
Not that I was told about.
Not that you're told about? Could we bring forward, we do?
Apparently yes.
We do, okay. So I think, do you guys want me to, so I'll maybe call forward the crew from Webb's Machinery who are going to do a draw. I think that we've got, what have you got in your wallets right now? It's, you've got it? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So do we tell them what it is, or is it a surprise?
Well, it's not our draw.
It's not our draw? Okay.
It's Webb's draw. Maybe they should tell them.
We'll let you guys announce what the draw is.
You know what it is?
You better tell me. Yeah, we should know first.
Okay.
There's COVID supply issues. I'm sure you know.
We're doing the draw.
I got the draw.
So I can set this up since, okay, so the draw item is a fridge in which can be kept sandwich meat, lunches, salads, milk, non-alcoholic beverages, and it's graciously donated by Webb's, and I'll let you folks do a draw for the lucky winner.
So the winner is Aaron Olivier. And I'm told that we're going to get decals put on the front of the fridge that will reflect some of the SMF activities. So. Congratulations.
We could do a photo op.
Okay.
Well, we'd just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out and listening to us tell our story of our SMF year. We look forward to spending the evening with some of you, and to those of you traveling home, safe travels.